Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good day. It's Gord, your hurtin' hippie for Thursday. It's almost Friday. Hang on. How y'all doing? I hope this finds you well. Uh, Shout outs to all of you. My videos have really been hitting a lot of people lately, and people are giving a lot of good thumbs up, and it's just been really nice. It certainly helps with my own SAD, seasonal affectiveness disorder. I'm getting through it, and it's all thanks to all of you, and I hope somehow I'm helping you too. Today, we are going to talk about Canadian dabbles into the psychedelics for a legal market. This was requested by Jonathan Taylor. John, thank you so much, Jonathan. I like having good meaty subjects that we can talk about. First, I want to show you the kind of day I had yesterday and morning I had. I'm just going to share 3 photos with you. Let's throw up that first one. That's me, Pasha and Gordy, heading on a walk around his new place that he lives, only a couple of blocks from me. But it's a new area that I had never walked before. So next is the view from that area. Absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to get up there and do some more photography right at and with the camera. This is out of my own camera. And the final this morning. A gorgeous morning as I'm walking my son to school. The clouds were just amazing. We get such interesting clouds. Being at the base of the Rocky Mountains, the way the winds push the clouds around over our city, it's absolutely amazing. And I like sharing that with you all. Okay? Back to me. And back to the subject at hand. I have my laptop here, so I'm trying to coordinate all this for you all because this was requested and I want to give it. You can follow along by clicking the link below for the article from universityaffairs.ca that I am going to slightly touch on. What I want to say is I want to say a few things first, and then I'm going to go through the highlights of this article. Jonathan asked, what's Canada doing about psychedelics? And this question has come out a bit because we have already legalized cannabis. And there was talk prior to our election, which is already over, that the Liberal government was seriously thinking of going into legalizing all forms of drugs and doing the Portugal experiment where in Portugal nothing's illegal. It's just if you overuse, you get put through a system through the health part of the government, not the criminal part of the government. I personally back that kind of a situation up. Let people do what they want to do, and if they hurt themselves, that's okay. When they get addicted, they're hurting society. That's when we need to step in, but not by penalizing them and creating a situation where they'll probably never get off drugs. But I digress. This is not what this is about. Canada has 0 plans. Yes, look at my hands. I have palm erythema. I've had it for ever since my liver went on me. Back onto the subject. In the 1950s, our prairies, specifically Saskatchewan, the province of Saskatchewan, was a hub for psychedelic experiments. It was a new era of mental health where they were trying to move away from lobotomies and shock therapy to find better solutions to mental health issues. That was put away. And Canada has not done anything in that area for a long time. But in the past decade, it's all come to fruition again because of many studies that are starting to prove that psychedelics, and I'll get into the description of psychedelics, either in small parts or in very controlled situations, can not only help but possibly cure things like PTSD, severe anxiety disorders, so many things. I'll get into that. So Jonathan Taylor asked, what's Canada doing about psychedelics? So I thought I would research. I did not know we had gone this far. Psychiatrists, let me read the first paragraph. Psychiatrists in Vancouver will soon begin a phase 3 clinical trial of MDMA, a hallucinogenic drug known as ecstasy, for patients suffering with PTSD. The treatment consists of 3 monthly 8-hour sessions under the influence of MDMA, interspersed by 9 90-minute sessions without the drug. This work is historically significant, say the researchers involved, because it marks the first time in more than 4 decades that an illegal psychedelic drug has been clinically tested in Canada. It is a double-blind, placebo-controlled study being run by the British Columbia Centre on Substance Use, a provincial organization with a mandate to develop, evaluate, and help implement evidence-based approaches to treat substance abuse and addiction. This is a good thing to, it sounds funny, but can the use of a drug get you off your addiction to another drug? A phase 3 clinical trial is typically the last phase of a review of a drug that it undergoes before it's approved for public use. Approximately 25 to 30% that pass through the phase 3 become legal drugs. So, let's see what else. History repeating itself. The MDMA work is just one aspect of a recent resurgence of scientific curiosity about healing properties of psychedelic drugs. You know what? Let's get a description of psychedelic drugs, because there was one. Psychedelics are a class of drugs that affect the brain's serotonin receptors, triggering a variety of changes in sight, hearing, and thought, and producing an altered state of consciousness. Drugs commonly included in this are LSD, acid, psilocybin, magic mushrooms, MDMA, ecstasy, and DMT, dimethyltryptamine. That's a hard one to put into quotes. The term psychedelics for these substances was coined by psychiatrist Humphrey Osmond in 1956 in an exchange of letters with a writer. He wrote, "To fathom hell or soar angelic, just take a pinch of psychedelic." Now, this is a really long article. It's a really good article, and I suggest you all read it, because I can't go onto it all, but it does go into the very next section is about microdosing. Another researcher, Thomas Anderson, a PhD student and cognitive neuroscientist at University of Toronto, has zeroed in on the phenomena of microdosing, an emergent trend in which people take about 1/10 of the dose of LSD or psilocybin, magic mushroom, typically consumed for recreational use. Because the dose is so low, they report only subtle changes and can go about their day without any hallucinations. Although there's no established factual evidence that microdosing yields any beneficial effects, many users are convinced it works like a mega vitamin pill for the brain, sharpening creativity and cognition and improving mood. I've been very tempted if I did not have a 10-year-old son, who I'm very busy with, I've been tempted to start microdosing psilocybin. I will not until he's grown and moved along. Kids are very, very susceptible to their environment at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. I keep everything hidden. We discuss everything. Nothing is hidden verbally. But I do nothing to glorify or romanticize any kind of thing that I do, because everything I'm doing medically, not for fun. And I make sure I mention that. And we are already 11 minutes in. I want to say that it goes on to talk about how Canada, as a part of a group who's looking at this, a worldwide group that has parts in Israel. Israel's doing some wonderful stuff with testing cannabis, with testing the heavy drugs. It's really cool. But reading up on this gets you up to speed with how Canada is very open about this. Our new Prime Minister was directly questioned as to whether this is his plan to legalize everything. And he said, no, that's not on the table, not for the next little while. And even if he was quietly thinking of using it, we now in Canada have a minority government that he's the leader of. He's not going to be able to push anything through like he did the poor legalization, but final legalization of cannabis. So I hope this at least touches into it. Canada is, yes, testing these things. Canada will likely one day, because of the way we are, because of well, let's put it this way. In the future, I do expect the stigma of cannabis to go completely away. I expect some heavy, heavy testing. In fact, Canada, like Israel, will become one of the world's leading centers for testing drugs and their medical efficacy. And over the years, they will find what works. And I will be prepared to try them, depending on the outcome of these results. Now, I know many of you are asking, okay, what's your history with psychedelics, Gord? And I don't often like to share that, but I will. In my mid to late teens, I did an awful lot of experiment. Peyote, MDMA, LSD, cannabis. Can't think of anything else. Mescaline. I have tried all of those. And you know what? I never got addicted to any of them. I don't understand that. That's why I think addiction is very much more environmental and not the drug itself. Because I never ever like, oh, I gotta have more, gotta have more. And by the time I was 18 and I moved to Alberta to start my life on my own, I wasn't on any of them. Touched cocaine for only a little bit, and for 6 months I was addicted horribly. That was in my mid to late 20s, and it was a tough time. I quit it cold turkey. And it is the reason why I have a bit of a hard time thinking about doing it again. I wish when I had done the psychedelics when I was younger, I knew what they know now, that it is a trip into a new dimension, that it is a restructuring of the brain temporarily even, and it talks about that in here. I do ask you to read it. I wish I knew then. Then I could have really thought about these experiments and what they mean to me. But I'm not in a position in life to be experimenting with anything anymore. Right now, I need to provide a good home, stable for my son, and I think I'm doing it. So this was fun to talk about. Now let's put on the next intro that I made. And now we're into little known facts, and we've been having some fun with that. Thank you, all of you, for your feedback on my intro to it. I may improve it or adjust it, depending on your feedback. We are on to new ones. The world's largest grand piano was built by a 15-year-old in New Zealand. It's a little over 18 feet long and has 85 keys, 3 short of the standard 88. Boring. Let's look at the next one. In order to keep Nazis away, a Polish doctor faked a typhus outbreak. This strategy saved 8,000 people. That's cool. And after the release of the 1996 film Scream, which involved an anonymous killer calling and murdering his victims, caller ID usage tripled in the United States. That's kind of cool. Kind of cool. And I appreciate all of you being a part of my life and being a part of my channel. And I love y'all. Peace and cheers. Love and harmony. Peace.